Hello, hello everyone. Um, would you believe me if I said I was actually ready on time and then I had to do, the final thing of making myself some caffeinated beverage and remembering to plug all of the things in. And for some reason I couldn't get my silly little ring light to plug in properly. So, on time, late, it's the same thing, right? Um, so I hope everyone's having a good day, good evening. I'm really sorry I missed last time. Um, I know with it being every other week, with me missing a week, that means I've missed a month. Um, so Happy New Year! And I hope the end of the year and the beginning of this one has gone well. Um, Mine is just. Uh, it's one of those things of life doesn't ever really stop, so it keeps coming at you and coming at you and coming at you. And some days that's fine, and some days it's a carnival ride, and you're white knuckled at the bar, going, "Please slow down. I would like to breathe and or get off." And something. Um, that's basically been January for me, is a white knuckle grip going, the ride's not stopping, I have to adapt. Um, Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let's see if I turn this up a little. Is that better? Hopefully that's better. But yeah, so that's where I am. Can you hear me? Hang on, let's do the fun old test of can you hear me? Okay. Yes, you can. Uh, all right. I did want to say today is going to be a little bit different than usual. It's not going to be like the first couple of streams I did where I talked about other things, although I would like to be able to get back to doing that. This is going to be a little bit of what to expect this year. Last year was very much a kind of fly by the seat of my pants. I knew kind of what I wanted to do for parts of it. This year I'm trying to be a bit more deliberate and have plans. But first we're going to talk about The Depths, which is a YA novel. To get back into that swing, which I'm immediately going to go back out of for February and do children's books again, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in a bit. So we are talking about The Depths. As per usual, I do not hold the copyright for this. It is meant to entertain and inform you. I don't own the rights to the works, and hopefully you will enjoy. I should probably check. Let me double check one more thing, guys. How is... Alright, good. Wanted to make sure that it wasn't lagging on YouTube's end. Okay, so we were talking about The Depths by Nicole Lesperance? Lesperance? As I said, it's a YA novel. It was published by Razorbill, which is a division of, I want to say it's Penguin. Hang on, let me grab it. I want to say it's Penguin Random House. Let me double check. Yes. So it is a division of Penguin Random House. It was published in 2022, and as of today, it is not a part of a series. Of course, the last couple of books I talked about that weren't part of a series, like, within a few months they were, but if that changes in the future, c'est la vie, so be it. So this is the original cover. The artist for this is Tara Phillips. She's a Australian freelance illustrator. who she's worked on a bunch of Star Wars novels, a bunch of Del Rey publications, and Simon and Schuster, and Australian Geographic. Um, First of all, this cover is creepy and does sort of give away a bit of the plot. But the other thing is that Tara Phillips's artwork, if you look at how she draws women, it's really, really detailed and well defined and very, very pretty. She has some that are of Leia. She has various other characters. But so that is who did the original cover. There is a alternate cover that is in. It's still Razorbill. It is for the Owlcrate exclusive cover. By the illustration is by Vicky Lester. She is an illustrator who specializes in like flowers and slightly creepy designs. She's worked with multiple publishers. She has things on Casetify, and she does the coffee packaging designs for Crime and Dine. All of it has this it's all dark backgrounds with bright colors on it. It's one of those looks where if you saw it, like if you lined it all up side by side, you would absolutely be like, yes, this is all from the same artist. She does a lot of flowers and plants. It's very pretty. But so this is the Owlcrate cover. About the author, she writes middle grade and YA novels. Her middle grade books are a series. They are the Nightmare Thief series. It is the Nightmare Thief and oh no, I had this all done, ready to go, had all the knowledge in my head, and it has disappeared. Hang on. It is the Nightmare Thief and the Dream Spies. That's the other one. At the moment, she's only written the 4. So 2 YA, 2 middle grade. This is her second YA novel. And it's enjoyable. We'll get into a little bit more why this one is labeled spoilery when normally that's a title I reserve for the children's books. We'll get into that. So what do you need to know? So this is a supernatural / ghost story. It is a fast read. It's not a breakneck sprint, but it doesn't give you a lot of time to linger. It's very straightforward imagery, and then it's predictable but enjoyable. And that line, the predictable but enjoyable, is why I am going to try to keep spoilers to a minimum, but I make no promises. Your main character is Addie. She is a free diver who, as of the very first chapter, recently died and was resuscitated. And she's kind of obsessed with her death and the limits that were caused by her dying. She joins her mother and stepfather on their honeymoon on a remote island because of the incident that caused her death. She mostly tries to stay out of the way. That is her big vibe, is I am aware that I am out at my mother and stepfather's honeymoon. I don't want to get in their way. They should have a good time. I have to be here because reasons. And the internet is kind of spotty, so she can't go watch the video of her death on repeat, because that is a thing that she was doing before. Her whole personality is based off of diving, and like they give some semi-reasonable explanations for it. It was an escape that became a hobby, that became kind of who she was. So it's not beyond the pale. It's not unreasonable. Um, but like as far as her list of character traits go, Diver is the big all caps one. This is a supernatural and ghost story. Eulalie Island is haunted, but not everyone can see the ghosts. Um, it is mostly Addie, and then there is one other boy who can see the ghosts. Um, the island changes and reacts to Addie, partially to mood and wills, but also just in general it reacts to her being there. Um, she doesn't really want to be curious, but she feels guilty about the fact that her mother delayed her honeymoon because of her and had to bring her along, and she can't dive, which, like I said, is 90% of her personality. Um, or less her personality, it's 90% of her identity, I should say. Um, so, with her being unable to do that and feeling guilty and therefore trying not to get in her mother and stepfather's way, um, she does things like explore the island and things, which starts the supernatural ball rolling. Um, Things like seeing that how she reacts to some of the weird plant life and how other people react to the weird plant life are different. Things like trees moving and thinking she hears birds calling her name. Um, all of these are the things that start being weird. It's a fast read. There are slower sections. This book does something that doesn't normally happen. It's normally glossed over in novels, but Addie will catch up characters who weren't with her on what was happening, and it won't be like a verbatim rehash. It'll basically be like, and I caught him up, but he will react and like give a response. So there is a little bit of that. There's a lot of rehashing the fact that she wants to dive. Medically, she can't dive. So for the whole of the book, it feels like a jog. It's not so fast that you feel overwhelmed with either information or imagery or keeping track of who's who. There are not so many players that's confusing. But it's never slow enough that you like get to linger or savor or like really appreciate any of the creepy things that pop up. The other thing is that as much as it has creepy things, it's not super creepy. So like it's creepier than probably most people would consider the Graveyard Book or Coraline or Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's not like actually into suspense thriller territory. Um, it's just like a little bit of creepy. um, it's very straightforward imagery. There are flowers that change colors. The first time is after Addie bleeds on the island. There's an emphasis on diving and on breathing, and the birds that Addie starts hearing calling her name is after she bleeds. There's an almost like Victorian tuberculosis romanticism to Addie's health. So, because she died while diving, it obviously caused problems with her lungs. So sometimes when she laughs or breathes heavily, it'll catch and she will cough up blood. And like it'll talk about the bloody foam around her mouth, and it's very much a like tuberculosis imagery of, oh, this girl is pretty, and also there's blood involved, and like the flowers react, and other things react to the blood, and it's a little strange in that sense. Also, if you're looking out for reoccurring images, if you're looking out for symbolism, if you're looking out for these themes that are not hiding at all, like they don't quite have flashing lights on them, but they're definitely written in like all capital size 20 font. You'll see them, you'll get it. Um, there's not a lot of subtlety to it. Um, and it is predictable but enjoyable. So none of the twists or spooks are surprising or really spooky. It's a fun read. Um, I said it's less of an unfair head scratcher, a la some of the Sherlock Holmes novels, where Holmes seems to be super smart because like the author withheld information from the reader, and so of course Holmes knows more. There's no spine-chilling thrill. This isn't a turn of the screw. There's no spooky ghosts. No hauntings like that. It's not Frankenstein level like creepers. It's more of a wink and a nudge, and aren't we clever? And look at these flowers that change colors. Look at these trees that grow and like shift and move, and look at all these magical things. There is romance in this book, sort of light diet romance, I guess. So if you're looking for a romance novel, it's not really a romance novel. It's not a huge plot point, but it is present. As someone who doesn't really read books for that, it was fine. It didn't really detract or bother me in any way, shape, or form. Teenage girl, pretty boy, yeah. It did have one of those fun twists, but it wasn't really a twist that involved the romance. It's overall a fine book. It's not... I didn't get done with it and go, I've read this before. So that's in its favor. But I did get done with it and go, huh, none of that was surprising. So while I hadn't read it before, I'm not going to say it's never been written before. It was enjoyable. It was not a waste of time. And maybe if you like freediving and you like sports things, maybe it's more your jam. I'm kind of ambivalent to it. And like I did feel bad for her because she was like trying to break world records, and then because she died, obviously she wasn't able to dive, and so her friends were getting ahead of her and stuff like that. So like there's that like sports tension. But it was a fun read. I like I said, don't regret it. It didn't feel like a waste of time. It didn't feel special, but it didn't feel unsatisfying. So for recommendations, some of these are repeats. Shocker. So for Supernatural and Ghosts, Lockwood and Company and the Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. It is a ghost story. I'm gonna be honest. It is a spookier ghost story than The Depths. But it is the beginning of a series of ghost stories about children who are ghost hunters, because once you reach a certain age, like 15-ish, you can no longer see ghosts, but they can still harm and kill you. So these are children hunting ghosts in an all-children ghost hunting company. Terrier by Tamora Pierce is the first in the Becca Cooper series, and it is a police detective-ish. like there is detectiveness to it, but she's not technically a detective. But it is a police story set in a high fantasy setting, and one of the things is that Becca can communicate with ghosts who ride a pigeonback. White Cat by Holly Black is a novel where magic users are basically all crime families. Like, to grossly oversimplify that. And the main character is about to come into their inheritance. I will admit, White Cat, all of these are technically part of a series, because Castaways is a duology. All of these are part of a series. Out of all of them, the one I have read the least is White Cat. I own it, I have read it, but I have not read any of the sequels. And then Castaways of the Flying Dutchman by Brian Jacques. This is the same author who wrote Redwall. But this one is exactly what it says. It's about the Castaways of the Flying Dutchman. It is a cabin boy and a dog. The dog can talk to the boy. So if you like talking animals and like just it is a strange tale, and while it is ghosts because Davy Jones, it leans more towards the supernatural because of immortality problems. The crew of the Flying Dutchman were cursed, so the castaways, unfortunately, bear the curse. It's a really sweet story, but if you know anything about Brian Jacques and how he writes, be prepared to cry. Even the happiest stories he writes are a little bit tear-jerky, and there are animals involved, so like, grain of sand, pinch of salt, whatever. And then for predictable but enjoyable books, so none of these are shockers. All of these are very straightforward and are fine, but I enjoy all of these very much personally. So The Squire's Tale by Gerald Morris is probably the most twisty of all of these. So You Want to Be a Wizard is a little bit too. But it is about Sir Gawain and his squire. So Arthurian legends, Sir Gawain, you meet some other of the Knights of the Round Table. But if you know much about Arthurian legend, this is highly enjoyable, not highly surprising, just a good old time. Messing with time stuff. So You Want to Be the Wizard is the first book in the Young Wizards series. I will say, if you can find the 1983 version as opposed to the New Millennium edition, I can recommend that one. I can't speak for the New Millennium edition, which is what was rewritten after 2001. But it follows Nita and Kit, and both of them, for separate reasons, want to be wizards. And this is about how do they go about becoming wizards. That is the whole point. So you want to be a wizard. It's titled that based off of the old like children's books that are, oh, so you want to be a firefighter, so you want to be a doctor. This is so you want to be a wizard. It also has a talking dog in it. I think he talks in this book. If he doesn't talk in this book, by book 2 you've got a talking dog. Pancho Villa is lovely. But I do recommend, if you can find the old one, read the old one. It is magic set in the modern world. So New York, New Jersey area for the first book. They do eventually go farther abroad, to places like Mars and beyond. but the first book in the Young Wizard series. The Backward Bird Dog by Bill Wallace. If you are familiar with Bill Wallace's animal books, this is like most of them. It is a good time. It is about a bird dog who normally dogs point with their nose. He does not because nose trauma. But you kind of said things are told in a humorous way. It's things like bee stings or chlorine, or there's a long line. It's a really cute story. Again, very predictable. It's a feel good. And then Spindle's End by Robin McKinley is a reimagining, retelling of Sleeping Beauty. It doesn't do anything hugely new with the story, but it is enjoyable. So predictable but enjoyable. It doesn't break new ground, but it is a lot of fun. And that is The Depths. I feel like I just sprinted through that. Honestly, it's not a bad book. If you don't mind some predictability, it's fine. And like being predictable isn't necessarily bad. Like I know everyone's like, oh, but if it's not new or innovative or great art or that doesn't matter. It's entertainment and it's enjoyable and it's just kind of a cozy feel good, with some ghosts and minor spooks. So that is that. All right. So I guess the next thing is to talk about some plans for this year, plans for 2024, as far as continued stuff. So first of all, I am still planning on making thumbnails. So I've got a bunch that I need to make, and I know that. I haven't forgotten. I'm not ignoring. I know that is still a goal of mine, is to make my thumbnails, and so backfilling those thumbnails. The other thing is I don't think every month is going to be themed, but I would like to do some that are themed. And so for February, it's going to be Film February. So both of the books, because I think there's only going to be two streams in February, are going to be books that also have movies. I think both of them are children's books. One of them for sure is. The other one, I don't know what it's classified as because it's a first-time read for me. So one of these is a reread, and the other one is new. New for me. It's not a new book. But both of them have film adaptations. I probably won't talk much about the film adaptation. Maybe a little, but that's not really the point. But it's something of, if books aren't your speed, if you would rather watch a film, here's some films that are based on books. So I have that planned for February. I don't have any like definitive for spring, but I was going to attempt to do a sequel summer. I have not decided if that will be 4 streams or 6. It kind of depends. I have to take stock of what I have. But it will be sequels to books I have already talked about. For example, I did Nick St. North last time. I can do... I think E. Aster Bunnyman is next, but don't quote me on that. It could be Toothiana. But doing the next one of the Guardians of Childhood, doing the sequel to Assassin's Apprentice, doing the sequel to why is my brain not working? I've done more books that have sequels. Anyway, point being, doing the books that have sequels, doing some of those sequels. Mything Persons has a sequel. I kind of want to do the Molly Mock / Lucian book during the summer. I may hold that one off till October because it's not technically a sequel, but it is another Critical Role novel. And since Laudna is also getting a book this year, I kind of want to do Laudna in October. Look, October may just be Critical Role. So, if you're willing to put up with me talking about D&D for a whole month, that may be, October may be D&D month. But so that is the tentative plan. I don't have, like I said, I don't have a hard plan beyond, I would like to do sequels in the summer, and I definitely want to do film February for the next 2 novels. I know which ones I'm already planning on. The question is just which order I'm doing them in. I would like to do a long stream. I won't be able to do it actually like on the anniversary of streaming, just because of how the days fall and how the time works and how the day job goes. But maybe on a Saturday or something in April, doing a long stream, probably reading an epic poem, because those are very old and out of copyright. I know which one I would like to do, but don't want to say I'm doing one and then turns out, oh, I can't do that one because I don't know where my copy has gone. So before I definitively say I'm doing the one I have in mind, I will just say that is the plan, is to do one of the epic poems in April as an additional stream, not replacing one of these, because I don't think I can read an entire epic poem in 1 to 2 hours. Beyond that, I don't have any definitive plans for the year. I will continue to be here every other week. That is the goal. Sometimes when life happens, it happens. I will try to make sure that there is a post up on the community tab. If not the day of, then before. These last few times I've tried to get to the stream, like I've gotten to the day of and been like, no, really, I want to do this, and then life just hits me sideways, either a migraine or just busyness that obligations I cannot change. But yeah, that's how I'm trying to do this. Once I start getting my thumbnails out, I will start putting up a schedule. It's going to be very basic. It'll either say reading or stream. Because with me only streaming once every other week, it's It's not going to be a hard thing to do. The only thing to really look out for is whatever Saturday I choose to do in April for the long poetry reading. Speaking of poetry reading, if you would like me to read more poetry like I did a winter poetry reading, if you would like me to do more seasonal poetry or to pick another theme, I can see what I can do to find out of copyright poems. If I'm not familiar with them, I'll have to give them a pre-read just to make sure. So authors and art are products of their time, and sometimes those products are problematic in the modern time. So that's also part of why I need to double check said epic poems before I read them. But yes, so that should be what is going on. There may be, hopefully not next month, but maybe in March there might be a week that's missed, just with life happening. If I know if I know for sure about that early, I will make sure I let you know. But beyond that, I think that's it as far as schedules and plans. I know it's not a lot, but it's what I have. I guess beyond that, it will be business as usual. If there's a particular genre of book that you would like me to read, or if you have a particular series that you really enjoy, no promises, but I might look into some. For example, like The Depth had sports. Sports aren't my thing. If there aren't swords involved, and they aren't like swords, not foils, sports really aren't my thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I've read and enjoyed The Magic Bicycle, but that one also involved like time travel, so meh. I can take a look. Excuse me. I haven't done any. So there are a handful of books that I haven't covered at all that are absolute favorites of mine. I've talked about them before, the Tamara Pierce ones, the Legend of Drizzt books. I don't know if I'm ready to cover those yet. I would like to get a little more comfortable before I start doing those. Which is ironic because I did a Critical Role one super early and I'm also a critter, so. But that's besides the point. I don't know if I'll get to those this year, I guess. Like, I guess I could probably do Terrier this year. Because if I had to pick a tomorrow... that's not true, though. Probably one of the Kells books is one of the ones I'm less attached to, but, like, chronologically, those are... Okay. I may have to think about that. But I may do like the Master Harper of Pern or something like that. Like I said, these are recommendations. They're not book reviews. not every book is for everyone. And yes, I know a lot of the books I read are of a similar genre and vibe. That would be because they are books that I am reading, and I very much have a genre and vibe I go for. I said this in one of my very early streams, and I will continue to say it probably forever. I like children's and young adult books. I think that they are valuable. I think that they tell good stories, and I think sometimes they benefit from not having the stumbling blocks that adult fantasy has. They don't need to try to be dense and solve the world's problems and have deep social commentary. They can. They absolutely can. The Hunger Games is a YA novel. Like, there are YA novels that address these things, but they don't have to. Some of them choose to, and that's fine. But it feels like a lot of adult fantasy feels the need to address things. And it's like, just give me my fantasy stories. Don't give me fantasy politics. And I say this deeply loving the Deed of Paxenarian series, which is like peak fantasy politics. It is more entrenched than Tolkien, but I still love it. There are exceptions to every rule. But I really like kids' books, and I really like YA novels, and I really like the fact that your adventure books can just be adventure books, with a sprinkle of romance if necessary, but sometimes it's not. To be fair, if you want your adventure books without romance, aim for the guys' books. Aim for The Ranger's Apprentice or Brother Band, or to a lesser extent Percy Jackson, although that does eventually develop some. Don't aim for the female-centric books, typically. Technically, the Elena books are YA. So, and those deal with princes and kings and stuff like that. But yeah. So, despite the name The Depths, this is not a deep one. Just a fun little book. Worth a read. If you are scared of the ocean, it may not be the book for you, because she is a free diver, so there are descriptions, and it is on an island, so there is ocean. That's not a problem for me, but I know that there are people who pools are fine, oceans are problems. This may be a miss for that. Also, nothing is as telling as the fact that when my coffee cup covers my ring light, I stop moving. So yeah, that is the plans for 2024. That is the book The Depths. I think I've covered basically everything. Yeah, and so we'll be doing film, books that have films. I think we'll start with the one I haven't read before. Let's start with a brand new read, and then we'll cover the reread time after next. I will say this. I have been told that the book and movie for this one they have the same name, they have some of the same characters, but despite having the movie having the author's blessing, they are not quite the same story. And with that, I will leave you to ponder. I hope you all have a good week. I will see you in February.